I want to talk about why I think it's time, if you have MAGA people in your life, to cut contact with them.
Trump 2024, MAGA family, MAGA nation. Tomorrow is my birthday. My birthday's at midnight. My family cut me off for being a Trump supporter, so I'm spending my birthday alone.
My dad is the crazy raging Trumper of our family, but my mom has been silently participatory in it, and that has been more painful and damaging for me. I haven't talked to either of them since the night before the inauguration.
I just want you all to know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for giving him those chances. I'm sorry. I see things now. I see them clearly. And I think I saw them way too late.
I voted for him, yes. But the quicker that you people welcome ex-MAGAs like myself, the more that MAGA is going to be willing to leave. The fact that you guys throw so much hate at ex-MAGA truly makes us not want to leave the cult.
I've had enough. And I am breaking up with my MAGA husband. I just went and talked to a lawyer today and filed the paperwork. I really don't know what to do because I don't work and he does provide for our family.
Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
Shut up, Joe. Leah and I have already talked about your search history. We all know that you love lesbians.
Whoa.
So the other day I'm stuck at the airport, right? One of those days where your flight keeps getting pushed back and you've already eaten the overpriced sandwich and now you're just existing in a plastic chair watching people argue with gate agents. And I figure, you know what? Let me actually do something productive. Let me read a book, sharpen the mind a little, do that thing MAGA voters think is some kind of elitist conspiracy, but really just means using your brain for something other than scrolling Facebook Marketplace for used pickup trucks. Anyway, I'm sitting there reading, pretzel crumbs on my shirt, boarding pass sticking to my sweaty hand, and I come across this story from ancient Greece about a guy named Oedipus. And I'm not even kidding, I put the book down for a second because it hit me so hard. This guy Oedipus is literally every MAGA voter I've ever met, like to a T. So here's what happens. Oedipus gets this prophecy that he's going to kill his father and marry his mother. Absolutely horrifying, right? So he does what any reasonable person would do. He runs. He flees his home, gets as far away as he can, thinking he's outsmarting fate itself. Probably walking around like, ha, nice try, destiny, not today. Except on his journey, he gets into some stupid road rage fight with an old guy at a crossroads and kills him. Just another Tuesday, whatever. Then he rolls into a new city, solves some riddle, becomes king, and marries the beautiful widowed queen. Palace, throne, the whole deal. Life is good. Until it's not. That old guy he killed at the crossroads, that was his actual father. And that queen he married, his mother. He ran so hard away from the prophecy that he sprinted full speed straight into it. Every single step he took to avoid his fate was actually a step closer. And when he finally figured out what he'd done, when the truth landed on him like a bag of bricks falling off a truck, he gouged his own eyes out. Couldn't stand to look at the world he'd destroyed. So I'm sitting there in Terminal C, pretzel crumbs everywhere, and I just start laughing, like full-on laughing out loud. People are looking at me. A security guy is doing that slow turn. And I'm thinking, oh my God, MAGA did the exact same thing. Think about it. They said they were running from corruption, from the deep state, from the elites and the liars and the incompetents. So where did they run? Straight to a convicted felon who bankrupted a casino, which is honestly impressive because casinos are basically printing presses for money. They ran to a guy whose name appears in the Epstein files more times than God appears in the Bible. A man who sells $60 Bibles and crypto scams and golden sneakers like he's trying to collect every grifter achievement badge in existence. They thought they were saving America. Every vote, every rally, every red hat they bought. They thought they were the heroes. And now? Now their communities are rejecting them. Their families don't call back. Their neighbors don't wave. Their bowling leagues found someone else. They're standing there, blind as Oedipus, screaming, "What did I do?" while the answer has been written all over their foreheads for years. So that's what this video is about. We're going to watch the clips, the crying, the rants, the "my own daughter won't talk to me" videos. And we're going to talk about why nobody feels bad for them. Because you can't spend years calling everyone else the enemy and then act surprised when nobody wants to sit next to you at Thanksgiving. Let's roll the clips.
I've had enough and I am breaking up with my MAGA husband. I just went and talked to a lawyer today and filed the paperwork. I really don't know what to do because I don't work and he does provide for our family. And he's also a really good dad, but I just can't handle the fact that he voted for Trump. Are any of you ladies like putting together an all-female commune for those of us that have to break up with our MAGA husband? The last straw for me was like, how come you didn't care about all of the women that were sexually assaulted and killed by illegal immigrants? Like, come on. Like, that is such a MAGA talking point. Gross. And the fact that he even uses the term illegal immigrant, I'm like, it's time for me to go.
People do not owe you forgiveness for finally leaving MAGA. They just don't. And I know that that's not a popular sentiment with people, but I completely stand by that. I was scrolling and came across a video of somebody that was in tears because they were talking about how they've been deconstructing and they finally left MAGA, but they don't ever want to be a part of any political party ever again because of the backlash they received. And the backlash, mind you, being people going, I'm sorry, but it's too late. You've caused so much damage. Like, I can never forgive you, which I think is completely fair, and it shouldn't be expected to get an overwhelmingly positive response given the situation we're currently in. I can understand the fact that people are saying, oh, we should welcome them with open arms. I completely get that, but when you for 10 years have been telling people to look around and observe the things that are right in front of their face, especially when the things are racism, misogyny, transphobia, hatred, homophobia, and they can't see it, after 10 years, you're gonna be like, okay, well, too little, too late. Like, I've been screaming it at your face and now people are dying. I'm sorry, but anyone that is a triple voter of that man is partially responsible for that. If your response to people rightfully criticizing you as someone that recently left MAGA is to now threaten to continually not vote in the way that is going to stop this stuff from happening, then you weren't deserving of forgiveness in the first place. Because clearly you still don't get it. I'm glad that there are people that are willing to forgive and move forward and, welcome these people with open arms, but it should not be the expectation that everyone is going to want to do that or be okay with it. Especially with how many people have been killed, deported, imprisoned, and everything that we're seeing in our current climate. Forgiveness should not be the expectation. And if you are someone that left MAGA, we're very happy that you did that. I hope you continue to deconstruct and teach the people around you. You also have to accept the criticism and the fact that you have harmed hundreds of thousands of millions of people. And people are going to hold you accountable for that. Does that suck? Yes, but that's part of the deconstruct.
I would like to first apologize for my past MAGA activism. Had I met all of you when I was in MAGA, I would have deemed each and every one of you to be an existential threat. And for that, I'm sorry. You did not deserve to be dehumanized in that way.
So who remembers this guy from a video I made a couple weeks ago?
MAGA family, I was on TikTok Live, and a fellow Trump supporter said that all he needed was my vote. I'll never be part of the MAGA family, and that I'm black, I'll never be accepted, but he just got my vote. Nah, that's crazy.
Well, he's had a couple of updates since then, and one of them that I think is significant is this one.
MAGA family, you know why I'm MAGA? It's because the MAGA people have done more for me as a whole than black people, my own people, have ever done for me.
It's a family, one that treats him better than the black community ever has. Today's a day that a lot of people spend time with their family. How is he spending today?
MAGA family, I still haven't found anywhere to go for Thanksgiving. I reached out to some people that commented on my post from the Pennsylvania, South Jersey area, and I got no reply, which kind of really hurts my heart because I reached out to like a couple people and no one replied. And honestly, I feel like I'm not gonna have anyone to spend Thanksgiving with.
And I'm guessing he's looking for somewhere to spend Thanksgiving, because in the video just before this one, he posted about how he wasn't welcome at his brother's funeral. This kind of reminds me of a story from a couple of years back. A 19-year-old kid in South Florida did a peel out on a rainbow mural that was in the middle of a roadway for Pride Month in his lifted truck with his Trump flag flying. In fact, I believe he did it on Donald Trump's birthday, and he got arrested for that. And then the judge actually ended up sentencing him to writing a paper about all the victims of the Pulse nightclub shooting. He had to actually look into each of their lives and kind of write a biography about all of them, which I thought was actually probably a pretty good way to go. In court, however, he cried. He cried and told the judge that he only did that because he had kind of gravitated toward Trump and MAGA because he was looking for acceptance and he felt like he was accepted by them. That's a tactic that street gangs use. That's a tactic that white supremacist groups use to recruit. We'll be your family now. You know, if you go to a Comic-Con or a horror convention, you'll see all these people who have come there looking for their people, finding community. And in those cases, it's positive. But if someone doesn't find a positive family, they'll find the other one. And here's a tip. If your family, if the people who are accepting of you are hateful of others, there's a good chance they're going to turn on you eventually as well.
I posted a TikTok where I'm wearing a MAGA hat in 2019, and then fast forward to myself at a Kamala Harris rally in 2024, and the comments on that TikTok are so angry. And honestly, I think that that comment section explains why a lot of people don't leave MAGA. There are so many Democrats who act so kind and so accepting, and yet when they see someone who previously supported Trump who has now seen the light, they want to attack them and punish them, and they want to sit on their high horse and make themselves feel better about it. And let me just add that for all their flaws, MAGA is pretty accepting of everybody. They don't give a shit if you voted for Bill Clinton or Barack Obama in the past. They're just happy to have you on board the Trump train now. And I don't know sometimes if you could say the reverse about the Democrat Party. They look at Trump supporters sometimes and they say, oh, well, you previously supported him, so fuck you. You're part of the problem. How could you ever support him in the first place? And then they wonder why more people don't leave MAGA. Democrats who shame people even after they change their minds are part of the problem, and they're encouraging others to cling to their cognitive dissonance. Look, if you want more people to leave MAGA, maybe stop attacking them when they do and have your arms wide open to greet them when they do change their mind. We have to remember that the system and those in power are the problem, not our fellow Americans. It's okay to be disappointed that millions of people supported Trump and millions of people still do, but to shame people for once they change their mind, we're never going to make any progress, and that's just completely counterproductive. We still have 3 more years of this presidency, and there's a long road after Trump leaves office, because it's not like MAGA is just going to go away. So people have a right to evolve, and we have to be willing to
Listen to you.
Now, here's the difference between Oedipus and your average Trump voter. Oedipus didn't have a choice. The prophecy was coming no matter what he did. He couldn't Google, is this guy a con artist, or watch a documentary, or read a fact check. He was just doomed. MAGA? MAGA had every tool in the world to figure out who Trump was. The Access Hollywood tape, the lawsuits, the bankruptcies, the fraud convictions, the guy who said he loves the poorly educated. And they still ran into his arms like he was saving them. That's not fate. It was never written in the starts. And it gets worse because the thing about Oedipus that haunts me, he didn't know. He was walking around as king, married to his mom, kids running around, and he had no idea. Everyone else knew. The prophet knew, the servants knew. But Oedipus? He was furious at anyone who tried to tell him. Sound familiar? MAGA voters are walking around right now, blindsided that their families won't talk to them. And everyone else is like, you called your daughter a groomer. You told your neighbor to go back to where they came from. You screamed at a cashier about microchips. And you're confused? The difference is Oedipus finally saw the truth and couldn't handle it. MAGA sees the truth every single day and just scrolls past it. Some of them are only crying because it's hit them where it hurts. But if Orange Daddy ran again, they'd be front of the line saying, well, better the devil we know, right? At least he is bold and speaks the truth. He's not afraid of anyone. Of which, I'm not so sure about that one. Orange Man fears Netanyahu, and we all know it. Personally, I can't blame the people cutting off MAGA, and I'll tell you why. Let me ask you something, and be honest. If your dad spent 3 years calling your wife a crisis actor because she's a nurse who believes in vaccines, would you still bring the kids over for Sunday dinner? If your best friend from high school started posting that the school shooting down the road was a false flag and the parents are lying, would you still text him back? If your neighbor put up a sign that says, fuck Biden, next to a picture of a noose, would you wave at him when you get the mail? Of course not. Nobody would. And that's what MAGA refuses to understand. They think they're being rejected for their politics. They're being rejected for being unbearable. There's a difference. And they're too far up that man's backside to know which end is which.
So now liberals are cutting off their parents because they don't agree with them politically.
Cut off my MAGA mom yet. And I just need MAGA to know that when we're making these decisions to cut you people out of our lives, that it is a long and arduous decision. I have wrestled with this decision for years now. And I'm I think I'm there.
To cut you people out of our lives? No, that's your mom. Now, I could understand if this was an abusive relationship. I could understand that, man, your parents put you through a living hell. Yeah, I think that would be valid grounds for you to exclude them from your life. But because you disagree with who they voted for, because they're not seeing what happened in Minneapolis through your liberal lens, you want to cut them out? You want to cut your mom out of your life? All I hope is that you did not record that in your mom's basement, because the audacity on you, you realize that normal, fully functioning individuals do not have those type of questions in their mind. Not once. I do not agree with my parents on every single topic. And not once has it come through my mind, you know what? I'm going to have to cut you off because you didn't vote for MAGA. Seriously.
See if you can guess who the bad guy is in this situation.
It feels just absolutely batshit crazy to me that at this point in time, I say to my mother, have you heard about Minneapolis? Have you heard about Venezuela? And then I ask the question, does this change your opinion at all? And her response is, we're not going to talk about this because if we do, you'll tell me I can't see the kids anymore.
You're right. That is absolutely crazy. And I know that you think that your mom is the bad person in this situation because she's not talking about the issues that you want to talk about, and she's not changing her way of thinking to the way that you think, which is wild because I'm sure she's heard a lot about inclusivity, love, compassion, and empathy from you as well. But the bad guy in this situation is you, man, because your mom knows that her daughter is so unhinged that if she even tries to have a different opinion than her, that will be grounds to cut off contact, for her to never see her grandkids again. Politics has become your entire identity. And it is absolutely crazy that your mom knows that you're using her grandkids as leverage to make her think the way that you do. And that your politics are the most important thing, to the point where you wouldn't even hesitate to cut off your kids from their grandparents and vice versa. You would willingly hurt the people that you're supposed to love to make a point.
So here's the part that really gets under my skin. MAGA loves to gaslight. I mean, they have it down to a science. You cut off your Trump-voting dad because he called your wife a crisis actor, or said your mixed-race kids are replacement theory, or whatever Facebook rabbit hole he fell down that week. And suddenly he's blowing up your phone like, that's your mother, you only have one dad, family is family, how could you do this to me? But here's the thing, that same dad? If someone else's dad shot their daughter because of an argument about Trump, MAGA would be silent. Or worse, they'd find a way to blame the daughter. Well, she shouldn't have provoked him. She knew how he felt about politics. Family disputes are complicated. You see the double standard? When it's their family being cut off, it's a tragedy. When it's someone else's family being literally unalived, crickets or excuses. And don't even get me started on the kids thing. Why would I let you see my children if you think innocent people in Minneapolis deserve to be unalived? Why would I want my kids learning that their neighbors are illegal aliens first and human beings second? You want to teach my children that a man with 6 bankruptcies and a felony record is a chosen one, while actual decent people are groomers? No, absolutely not. But here's where the gaslighting gets really twisted. MAGA will turn around and say, but you're being intolerant, you're canceling me, you're the one dividing the family. And you start to wonder, am I the bad guy? Am I being too harsh? That's the gaslighting. That's the technique. It's called DARVO. Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. They deny they did anything wrong. They attack you for being too sensitive or brainwashed. And then they flip the whole thing so now they're the victim and you're the abuser. Sound familiar? Every family argument, every Facebook comment section, every time a MAGA voter gets called out. And here's the ancient part. This isn't new. There's this story from ancient Rome, a cult called the Bacchantes, followers of the god Bacchus. They'd go out into the woods at night, drink wine, tear animals apart with their bare hands, and convince themselves it was holy. Anyone who tried to stop them? They'd say, you don't understand the divine. You're not enlightened like us. You're the problem for not joining in. The Roman Senate tried to shut them down, and the cult members screamed persecution. Sound familiar? They're coming for our religion. They want to take our Bibles. We're the real Christians. Same playbook. Different century, different God, same manipulation. And here's the part that breaks my heart. The people doing the gaslighting? Many of them genuinely believe it. They're not sitting there twirling a mustache thinking, how can I ruin my daughter's mental health today? They're thinking, I'm saving her from the lies. I'm the good guy. She'll thank me later. But she won't. And she doesn't. And that's why she stopped answering the phone. So no, I don't care if that's your mother. I don't care if you only have one dad. If being around them makes you feel smaller, angrier, more exhausted, and less like yourself, you have every right to walk away. Your mental health matters. That's self-preservation. And nobody is sitting there thinking, it's so easy to stop talking to their friends. Or parents, hello, this shit hurts just as bad. But I can't save you. I can only save myself from the mental turmoil of dealing with such BS. And if MAGA wants to call that intolerance, fine. I'll wear that badge proudly. Because I'd rather be called intolerant than teach my kids that cruelty, rape, harassment of women, stealing from the American people through insider trading, calling for the enslavement of millions of people, the list is endless actually, are all tickets to the White House. Hell no.
Something narcissists do that can really fuck with your head is that they don't just accuse you of things. They also create situations to then make those accusations look and sometimes feel true. And that's the part that I think a lot of people don't understand about the projection and gaslighting that takes place in these relationships. It's very common for survivors to start to believe that they're the problem, to believe that they're selfish, to believe they're a bad person. When you're trying to talk to someone who hasn't been through something like this, it's kind of like, well, you know you're not a bad person, so why the fuck would you believe it just because they said it? But it's so much more complex than that, because like I said before, they don't just accuse you of being these things and doing these things. They set you up to look like you are those things so they can manufacture proof and say, look, see, I told you. And if they're not creating situations to make it look like their accusations are true, then they're waiting for a good moment to use something out of context that you've said or done to make it look like these things are true. For example, narcissists are pathological liars, right? So it's a common projection for them to accuse you of being a liar. And again, it's not like they just point at you and say, you're a fucking liar. And you're like, oh no, I guess I'm a liar. They wait for the right moment to make it appear as though it's true. Like, let's say y'all are having an argument about something and they start over talking you and flooding the conversation with so many details and contradictions, and it gets really confusing. And then they ask you a question about something and you get some parts of the answer wrong. And then they hold it against you and say, look, you can't even get your fucking story straight. And they'll do this multiple times in multiple situations so that they create this imaginary pattern of behavior of lying on your part. Or they'll force you into a situation where you feel unsafe telling the truth, and then they'll wait for you to fuck up and hold it against you. Like, let's say they've isolated you through coercive control. So they haven't directly told you, you can't go hang out with your family, but every time you do and you get home, then they punish you with the silent treatment, or they leave and disappear on you. And so they condition you to fear their reaction to you hanging out with your family, even though you're doing nothing wrong by hanging out with your family. So one day you go hang out with your mom and you're absolutely terrified to tell them that you're hanging out with your mom because of their reactions every time you hang out with your mom. And then they find out that you hung out with your mom and they're like, see, you can't tell the fucking truth about anything, even though they set you up to do that. Or after them repeatedly betraying you and breaking your trust, you become super paranoid about what they're doing and you want more frequent check-ins, or you become really antsy about their response time. Or maybe when you gave them another chance, they told you that they were going to rebuild trust by sharing their location, and then after a few weeks they turn it off and you're asking them why their location is not on, and they're calling you controlling because why do you need my location on even though it was their idea in the first place? Or maybe they accuse you of having anger issues and not being able to control your emotions, being unhinged, and they wait for the moment that they can make it true. Maybe they're covertly provoking you all day, being dismissive, slight sarcasm, withdrawing from conversations, not looking at you, and then at the end of the day, you eventually snap. And then it's, see, look, you're blowing up at me for no reason again. I don't deserve to be treated this way. Or because they're selfish as fuck, they'll accuse you of being selfish, and then of course, wait for the moment that they can make it true. For example, if you're dealing with a covert narcissist and they have crisis after crisis after crisis, and it's always your job to fix each one, then there never seems to be a good time to talk to them about your feelings, or bring up something that makes you uncomfortable, or to ask for comfort or support. So inevitably, you do at a time where they're in a crisis, because they're always in a fucking crisis, and now you're selfish because how could you bring this up while they're going through everything that they're going through and you could never understand how that feels. They change the context of every situation to make you look and feel like everything that you're not.
Honestly, they have been at war with us for 47
We
years.
all know that Scott Jennings is more than happy to defend a war with a country that starts with the letters IRA that we are currently failing, that is going to put us trillions and trillions of dollars more in debt. I was only a few years old while you were in the administration defending prior endless wars. Now this war is failing.
8 weeks is endless to you?
Okay, you said it was going to be 4 to 6 weeks.
You have the attention span of a gnat? Is that
Homie,
what you
I
have?
debated you on
Okay.
TV 4 to 6 weeks ago, and you said we were weeks away from it. Now you're making condescending remarks because you can't defend the fact that this war is not going your way. Wait, one more time.
Not
Can you
going your
name
way.
one political
Get your
concession.
fucking hand out of my
Name
face
one political
first.
concession.
Whoa, guys,
Honestly, I'm
excuse
not
me.
going
Hold
to
on.
have this guy's
Everybody,
in my face.
everybody, hang tight.
Honestly.
Okay. No, everybody, calm down. Okay. We're having a debate. You can respond to the points that he's making.
Can you name a political concession that we've got?
We had a flashback to the war the skinheads had in my studio.
I would be mad if I
Okay.
defended war too. I would be mad.
And over time, not only does that shit build up, but you also start nonstop defending yourself and explaining yourself and trying to prove that you're not these things, to the point that you start to feel guilty and believe that you are these things. So they're not just projecting, they're combining the projections with gaslighting and then manufacturing evidence to make it all seem believable. And the really twisted part is, once they manufacture all this evidence to prove that you're all these fucked up things, they treat it as if it's real evidence and it becomes part of their distorted reality, and they treat you accordingly.
Did you hear what she said? This right here fits the MAGA cult book perfectly. MAGA is 1,000,000,000% narcissistic in nature. Not kind of narcissistic, not sometimes. It's baked into the whole damn thing. Here's what I mean. They love creating situations where their accusations about you feel or look true. It's a setup, every single time. Think about what we saw the president try to do, pushing people to go act violently towards ICE agents. They didn't just go after criminals. They went after a white woman named Nicole Good, then went on to say those people were the enemy, that those people were the aggressors, trying to make you question what you saw with your own 2 eyes. Pure gaslighting. And if you think that was random, it wasn't. It was designed to trigger you, to push every button, to get the exact reaction they wanted so they could turn around and say, "See, the left is violent. The left is out of control." But let's bring this closer to home because we've all seen it. Those dumb videos, you know the ones. Some MAGA cult member puts on their silly little red hat and goes walking through Target or a coffee shop or a goddamn airport, just waiting. Waiting for someone to look at them sideways. Waiting for someone to say something. And the second someone does, they whip out their phone and go, "See? Liberal tears. The left is canceling me." That's a toddler poking a dog with a stick and crying when the dog growls. And it's deeply narcissistic because the whole performance is about them, their feelings, their reaction, their victimhood. They don't talk policy because they don't understand policy. They can't explain a tariff or a tax cut or a trade deal if their life depended on it. So they go with taglines. Own the libs, liberal tears, 4 more years. Like they're stuck in 5th grade taunting the kid they don't like during recess because he wears glasses. There's nothing intellectual about it. There's nothing patriotic about it. It's just childish and exhausting, and I will die on this hill. Nobody can force you to hate another person. Nobody can force you to treat someone horribly because they don't look like you, love like you, or pray like you. That is a choice. MAGA makes that choice every single day. And then they have the nerve to act surprised when people don't want to be around them. That's what Trump stands for. 1,000,000 choices. 1,000,000 little cruelties. All dressed up in flag pins. So when they say things like, "I love his policies, I just don't agree with that one thing that hurt me personally," pause. Think about what that means. They're not saying, "I feel bad for the families separated at the border." They're not saying, "Maybe calling my neighbor a groomer was wrong." They're saying, "It didn't affect me until it did." And that's not remorse. It shows they couldn't care less about other people. It shows they don't see how their actions are directly tied to those people getting hurt. And that is exactly why people are cutting them off. That's why their communities are rejecting them. It's not some moral test about, this is your mother, this is your father, family is family. It's more nuanced than that. Way more. But the MAGA brain does not understand nuance. It probably never will. It can't. Nuance requires thinking. Nuance requires admitting you might be wrong. And that's the one thing they will never, ever do. And in the unlikely event that they do it, it's to seek empathy and make themselves the victim again. Yet they swear that empathy is demonic when it's others who need it. So let me know what you think down below. In the meantime, this last clip perfectly encapsulates how MAGA feels when people don't treat them the way they think they should be treated. And my response to that? You are not the main character. Get over yourselves. Life is way more nuanced than your red hat and your feelings.
Y'all, she's showing us what she thinks emotional distress looks like because she needs us to feel like she's suffering. She needs us to believe that she's suffering so much. That's called performed emotional dysregulation. And it reads uncanny and creepy because it is uncanny and creepy. Real emotions don't read like that. That is not how a real emotional response looks. This is somebody who has studied what emotional display looks like and is consciously repeating what they've learned. Then she brings up white face, which is not real, and she knows it's not. The term exists to manufacture some sort of symmetry where there is none. She's basically trying to say your oppression and my discomfort are the same thing. They're not. Let's be very clear. When comedians mock her, that's accountability and satire. But she's trying to rebrand criticism as persecution. And baby, that Eminem cosplay is very intentional. The black hat that says freedom, the all black with the podcast mic set up. That's not an aesthetic. That's called identity borrowing.